Chapter 2 The Domestic Monastery. Let's return to Carlo Corretto, that terrific spiritual writer of the past half century, who lived for more than a dozen years as a hermit in the Sahara Desert. Alone with only the Blessed Sacrament for company, milking a goat for his food, and translating the Bible into local Bedouin language, he prayed for long hours by himself. But when he returned to his native Italy one day to visit his mother, he came to the startling realization mentioned in Chapter 1. His mother, who for more than 30 years had been so busy raising a family that she scarcely had a private minute for herself, was more contemplative than he was. Corretto, though, was careful to draw the right lesson from this. What this taught was not that there was anything wrong with what he had been doing in living as a hermit. The lesson was rather that there was something wonderfully right about what his mother had been doing all these years, as she lived the uninterrupted life amidst the noise and incessant demands of small children. He had been in a monastery, but so had she. What is a monastery? A monastery is not so much a place set apart for monks and nuns as it is a place set apart, period. It is also a place to learn the value of powerlessness and a place to learn that time is not ours, but God's. Just like a monastery, our home and our duties can teach us those things. The vocation of monastic monks and nuns is to physically withdraw from the world. But the principle is equally valid for those of us who cannot go off to monasteries and become monks and nuns. Certain vocations offer the same kind of opportunity for contemplation. They too provide a desert for reflection. St. Bernard, one of the great architects of monasticism, used to refer to the monastic bell. All monasteries have a bell. Bernard, in writing his rules for monasticism, told his monks that whenever the monastic bell rang, they were to drop whatever they were doing and go immediately to that particular activity: prayers, meals, work, study, sleep, to which the bell was summoning them. He was adamant that they respond immediately, stating that if they were writing a letter, they were to stop in the mid-sentence when the bell rang. The idea in his mind was that when the bell called it called you to the next task, and you were to respond immediately, not because you want to, but because it's time for that task. And time isn't your time, it's God's time. For him, the monastic bell was intended as a discipline to stretch the heart by always taking you beyond your own agenda to God's agenda. So let's return to Carlo Corretto's mother. Any mother or father, while raising children, perhaps in a more privileged way even than professional contemplative, is forced, almost against the will, to constantly stretch the heart. For years, while raising children, her or his time is never her or his own. Personal needs have to be kept in second place, and every time a parent turns around, a hand is reaching out and demanding something. A parent hears a monastic bell many times during the day and has to drop things in mid-sentence and respond, not because they want to, but because it's time for that activity, and time isn't one's own, but God's. The rest of us experience a monastic bell each morning when our alarm clock rings and we get out of bed and ready ourselves for the day, not because we want to, but because it's time.